Monarchies can work, but historically speaking, they usually fail. Inept leaders end up overstepping their bounds. The people under them don't know what they're doing. Occasionally, a baby is put in charge. Yet, most NFL franchises have decided this model of leadership is ideal for their team's operations. Okay, so pro football teams aren't going to allow babies to lead them. Then again, I'll let you make the call on that. Regardless, this medieval-based setup with a monarch on top of the leadership pyramid is a recipe for rampant dysfunction. Don't believe me though, don't take my word for it. I present to you the Raiders, Jets, Giants, Bears, Jaguars, Cowboys, Panthers, and Browns. Now, it's always possible for an NFL team to come and go from this list. You'll notice, for example, it did not include the Washington Commanders. If Dan Snyder was the disastrous Edward II, then Josh Harris is morphing into Edward III. Of course, all of that happens far away from the fans, who are simply the lowly peasants here to enrich everyone else above them on this leadership pyramid. Ah, yes, the monarchy and NFL organizational structure. Let's go over this, shall we? As I said, fans are at the bottom with no say on anything. We simply exist to power the machine, means to an end. At the top, you have the principal owners who serve as the monarch over their NFL kingdom. These unelected individuals or families do not hold this position based on any sort of merit. Below them are minority owners, other advisors, hangers on the king's court.
Give you wheel.
This group exists to tell the king they're doing a great job, to blame others below them on the pyramid for failure, and to pocket whatever excess cash happens to be lying around. Sure, in theory, they can provide advice and improve the situation. In good organizations and monarchies, they are the catalyst for positive change. In bad ones, they act out of self-preservation. Below them are coaches, front office personnel, the general manager, operations staff. In medieval times, these were administrators, tax collectors, military leaders, and the like. Basically, the people who ensured things functioned on a day-to-day basis. It's also unequivocally the worst part of the pyramid to be involved with, because you are hearing it from both sides. The people on top blame you for everything. The people on the bottom blame you for everything. And the most annoying part of all of this, there's basically no upward mobility. You're not going to get enough money or enough cash to move on up. Below them are the players who serve as the army, protecting boundaries, defending honor, and all that jazz. This describes operations for the bulk of NFL teams. It is also how the majority of medieval kingdoms operated way back in the day. When you think about it, this is completely ridiculous because those in the majority, and who are most important to the equation, have the least amount of say in how things are run. Oh yeah, since we're on the subject, Roger Goodell and the NFL league offices, they are the Pope and the papacy. They're kind of in charge, but also not really in charge. Given this setup, it is easy to see why so many NFL teams are in the throes of dysfunction. In order for medieval governance to work, the head, the monarch, needs to be benevolent, pragmatic, ambitious, and intelligent. 4 traits that most individuals simply do not possess, and 4 traits that are extremely hard to develop in the cauldron of a royal household. If an NFL owner wants to be successful, they need the same 4 traits. Considering most NFL owners were either gifted their franchise through hereditary succession or live in realities so far detached from the real world, they have no opportunity to develop all 4 traits. You end up with characters and not leaders. David the Dumb, Mike the Fearful, Jimmy the Clueless, Robert the Ender of Happiness, Stan the Steeler. Steeler with an A, not an E. I see you, St. Louis. I'll stop here, but feel free to keep going in the comments section. Anyway, you get the idea here. Good NFL owners are few and far between. For every Frederick Barbarossa, there are countless Louis the Do-Nothing and Louis the Quarreler. That's Louis the 5th and 10th respectively. The key to being a good NFL owner, though, it's much the same as being a good monarch. Know your strengths, delegate the rest to capable individuals, surround yourself with a wise and worldly court, and don't show total contempt for fans and players because without them, you have nothing. But if you're not benevolent, if you're not pragmatic, if you're not ambitious, and you're not intelligent, you're in a lot of trouble. And you have to have all 4. You can't just have 2 or 3 out of the 4. Mike Brown is pragmatic and perhaps even benevolent, but the dude has zero ambition, and the Bengals have won 0 Super Bowls. He doesn't really show a desire to compete at the highest level. Jim Irsay, definitely ambitious, and from what you hear, he's a fairly benevolent individual. He's also not pragmatic, and honestly not particularly intelligent given all of the stupid things he's done over the years. It must be noted, a good leader of an NFL team or a medieval kingdom is not going to make everyone happy. That is impossible. The goal, though, is being as successful as possible while ensuring everyone under your watch is as satisfied as possible. Even when you look at 2 of the franchises that arguably possess all 4 of these leadership traits, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they have their own issues they currently deal with. Players have complained about how both lack resources, facilities, and support compared to other NFL franchises. A fair complaint, but also why pragmatism matters as well. You can't do everything all the time, and you can't make everyone happy all of the time. But as long as you're on the right track and you're having success and you're making sure most people are at least satisfied, you're doing well. Case in point, look at the reign of Frederick II, Stupor Mundi, the wonder of the world. A man whose grave I once visited. He possessed all 4 traits, had a reign as king that is arguably the best the medieval world ever saw, and that was still far from perfect. Activities in his kingdom, particularly those north of the Alps, were a bit loosey-goosey. He didn't necessarily have the best control on the situation up there. But he still achieved as much success as possible, navigated an absurdly complex political situation with the Crusades ongoing, supported knowledge and education, and was fairly open to different cultures. Most folks outside the papacy were at least satisfied with life under his reign. His constant piss-taking of Pope Gregory IX, by the way, is the stuff of legends. That aside, folks should not have to wait for a generational, mold-breaking leader to come along and reverse their fortunes, regardless of if you're some commoner working on a farm in Swabia or a fan of the Arizona Cardinals. That's not what happens, though, not in the NFL and not in medieval kingdoms. Instead, you have the monarch and a gaggle of nobles. They get together, they do whatever the hell they feel like, everyone else be damned. The Raiders are a prime example of that. Al Davis spent the last decades of his life doing whatever he felt like, and what he felt like were whimsical decisions that made little sense to anyone other than himself. Even when Davis backed into doing something good, such as hiring John Gruden, it was usually undone almost immediately. His son Mark Davis has tried to delegate more, but his court is nothing but bumbling fools all looking out for themselves. And when he doesn't listen, the results end up just as bad, maybe even worse. Mark Davis was the only NFL owner gullible enough to give John Gruden another chance at coaching. And not only did he do that, but he allowed Gruden to have a massive say in personnel decisions. Now Tom Brady is in the mix. Everyone is talking about how Brady is going to help the Raiders with their quarterback decision and will be a valuable resource to the team moving forward. Come again? What exactly has Tom Brady done to have any sort of say on personnel decisions apart from forking over millions of dollars for an ownership stake in the Raiders? Being a good player doesn't make one a good coach, scout, or decision maker. Players without the means of Brady have had to climb their way up that employment ladder. Just look at Dan Morgan. He had to start his front office career as a scout with the Seahawks and slowly advanced just like everyone else. By the way, Kyle Trask, a second-round draft pick, spent 2 years with Tom Brady, and it has done absolutely nothing for his career. Now Brady gets to have a say on this quarterback decision for the Raiders, and he gets to have a say in developing the quarterback simply because he's higher on the leadership pyramid than general manager Tom Telesco. That is the type of nonsense bad monarchs did during medieval times, and it is the type of nonsense bad NFL owners do in present day. Some folks will go on about how sports teams are capitalistic entities, and if the owner wants to run them like a monarchy, so be it. The thing is, NFL teams aren't businesses, they are community. They've only been allowed to become businesses because capitalists were allowed to take over, as no one involved with these leagues or these teams ever envisioned things becoming what they are today. Ultimately, it is the nameless, faceless peasants toiling their lives away in the field that lose out in all of this. It is the NFL fans who do not get to have a say in their local team, despite the fact the only reason that team exists and gets revenue is because of them. When you think about it like that, this is a leadership approach more fitting for the darkest of dark ages. The entire NFL monarchy ownership and team structures are just so broken and so busted. We also know they are totally useless and unnecessary. The Green Bay Packers have existed for more than 100 years without a principal owner. Over in Germany, any club that wants to be a part of the Bundesliga or second tier needs to be majority owned by club members, i.e. supporters. The 50% plus one rule ensures that a moron or morons cannot come into a Bundesliga club, make a bunch of bad decisions again and again and again, and then blame everyone else for the club's failure. That reminds me of a quote from New York Giants owner John Mara, who wanted to fire everyone after the team struggled.
I wanted to fire everybody, from the people in the equipment room right up through upstairs, because that was a low point.
Let me get this straight. You, John, wanted to fire the dude who put stickers on helmets because you oversee such a crap organization. There is a common denominator in the New York Giants struggles over the past decade or so, and they start at the top of the pyramid. If you want to fire someone, start with yourself. But of course, we all know you're not going to do that, are you, John? The NFL voted to allow private equity into ownership groups, but fan-supported funds in the form of whatever financial vehicle can be concocted is not permitted. Apparently, fans' money only matters when it's of the no strings attached variety. How dare people who support teams through their hard-earned money and time want to have a say in leadership decisions? They want to have a say in the direction of a franchise. Nope, we're just going to have this organizational structure in place that was deemed to be obsolete and ineffective hundreds of years ago. Instead, fans of the Raiders, Cowboys, Jets, and other countless franchises have one hope: that one day an heir is born who possesses all of the positive characteristics of Alfred, King of Wessex. Or at the very least, one of those child kings like Alfonso II, a figurehead who takes a backseat to the adults who definitely know what they are doing until the monarch has reached ruling age and has been surrounded by competent individuals. But no, let's allow Jerry Jones to keep flying the Cowboys by the seat of his pants. And when that is done, well, next up is his doofus son who can keep the family legacy going. Thank you for watching this video. To learn more about the absolutely unexpected evolution of the NFL draft over the years, video upper right hand corner of your screen, and for the story of the legendary tight end who actually refused to play tight end, video in the lower right hand corner of your screen. Until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis. This is the Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.